I told you that I did not come to play. We about to take it to higher heights. History's waiting when I arrive. Today is the dawn of a new, and I'm about to show them that they cannot put me down. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is yours, so what will you choose?
And thanks for joining us on Fox Sports Las Vegas and your Vegas Golden Knights digital channels. This is Nighttime at Noon from Studio 31 at City National Arena. Ashali Vise with Gary Lawless. The Golden Knights just wrapping up just their second practice since their first round win over the Winnipeg Jets. They've had some practice. They've had some rest. It kind of feels like that win came a very long time ago, considering all the madness we've seen in the National Hockey League since Thursday.
Well, and the fact that the series doesn't start till Wednesday.
Yep.
But, for Braden McNabb, who did not play in Game 5 and has not practiced with the team yet, it's obviously that time is good for him. Shea Theodore's, he was ill. He's back with the team. So, I think this is probably really good for Mark Stone. Another opportunity after playing some games to focus on fitness and working on some things in practice. But, Bruce Cassidy, an experienced coach, has been through a lot of playoff series. He would have had a plan ready to go and unwrapped that, unveiled it to the players, and they seem to have responded pretty well. So we'll see. Edmonton, my guess is they would have taken yesterday off and got back on the ice today. They'll travel tomorrow. Spoke to some of their people yesterday, so I think they'll probably skate in Edmonton in the morning and then travel in the afternoon down to Vegas. And all we need now, Ashley, is to find out what time puck drop is on Wednesday night. That's
no kidding. Can't come soon enough.
Hasn't been revealed from the NHL. We should explain this too, because I get all these DMs and Facebook messages and texts from people asking me, when does the series start? Like, the minute we know,
Yeah.
We don't. The information isn't. Don't hold on to it to try and screw with your lives. As soon as the NHL sent us a note last night saying, in the event of this happening and this happening, they had two schedules, and we'll release this following the game. And so, sure enough, last night, as soon as the game was over, boom. They sent out the release. Now, the only thing that they did, it had Wednesday, Friday for games 1 and 2, and it had TBD for both of those games. So in the future, don't text Ashley or myself or anybody else that works for the Golden Knights. Just be signed up for the notifications from the Golden Knights, and you'll know at the exact same time as me.
Good reason to hit follow. Turn those
go.
Notifications on.
Yes.
Speaking of that, going to give you a chance, too, to plug something that you wrote. The headline was, "The waiting is the hardest part." What is the vibe you get from the players as we talk about how hard it is to wait? What do you think these last 4 days have been like for them? I guess they knew the opponent after 2, but then you wait to see when it's going to start.
I think there's a combination of things. It's really nice in Vegas right now. I think the guys have taken advantage and played some golf. I went to a concert on Saturday night, and there were a couple of the younger players were there at the show. So I think that it's good to a certain extent. Once that sort of the weekend is over, though, like this morning, everybody would like to play tomorrow is my guess.
It's a Monday. It's work time.
You know what I mean? It's time to get at it. So I was just telling you, I woke up at like 4:45 this morning. Couldn't fall asleep after that. So I got up and started my charts for Game 1 against this series, and I'm almost done.
Getting ahead.
Yes.
Getting ahead. We're going to preview the series, of course. We're also going to hear from Bruce Cassidy. Should be meeting with the media here in just a few minutes. You mentioned the concert, though. That was a Dustin Lynch concert. Did Lawman have the cowboy boots and cowboy hat on for that one?
No, but my daughter did.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Way to go, Lauren.
Yeah, when we got pretty lucky, we got to go right. We were right in front of the stage, and they had it blocked off, so they only had a certain number of people in that area, so you weren't smushed. But the sound was excellent, and they could almost reach up and touch them. I didn't want them that close, but yeah.
You don't want the sweat dripping. That's
whatever.
Yeah.
Just my daughter's 12. She doesn't need to be shaking hands with some country music star.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But the one song that they really like. Been thinking about you. He played that, and they really enjoyed it. He did a Toby Keith cover that I liked.
Let me guess.
What's be a cowboy?
Oh, the classic.
Yes, one of
Classic.
Shane
You and
Nighty's
I
favorite.
know that one.
I videoed a little bit of it and sent it off to Shane.
What the sheriff think? How about, can we talk for a minute about how incredible Shane Nighty has been doing on the national broadcasts? 4 games and 4 nights from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. From our game 5 on.
Yeah, did
Killing
Vegas on Thursday, then went to Seattle for their game 6, then went to LA for game 6, then to Denver for game 7 of that series. And he fits in real nicely with that group. I happen to think that, Shane and Dave are among the very best. Shane, Dave, and yourself amongst the very best in-game crews in the National Hockey League. And you got to do some national work last year, as did Dave, and this year Shane is getting a bunch. So well earned by all of you guys, and Shane is certainly a talent.
We'll chat with him as the round goes on too, as he had an up close and personal look during that Edmonton LA series. As we await Bruce Cassidy, Gary, want to ask, what did you find was the most encouraging part of round 1 for the Vegas Golden Knights?
There were a couple of windows of play. Throw game 1 out. I think game 1 was, in particular, Mark Stone, Laurent Brossoit, and Jack Eichel were figuring out. Mark was his first game coming back from injury. He wasn't himself. It was Jack's first playoff game, and Brossoit's first playoff game as a starter and a number 1 guy with the Vegas Golden Knights, and they all had kind of so-so games. After that, they were all dynamite in the series, but there were a couple of windows. Let's just go to game 5. The first and second period of game 5, like Adam Lowry had a scoring chance when it was 4-on-4. That was it. Vegas, but while they were giving Winnipeg no opportunity to score, they scored 4 of their own. So that the formula of how Vegas needs to play, which Bruce Cassidy has been working on all year long, it's there. George McPhee said to me recently, bad teams don't have any leaders. Good teams are led by their coaches. Great teams are led by players. Mark Stone, immediately after game 4 in Winnipeg, said in the dressing room, everybody's having fun, and he just said, okay, the next one's the big one, guys. It's going to be the hardest. And Nick Hague told me Saturday morning after practice, I was asking Nick about this and that, and he said, I said, you guys look like you were ready to go. He goes, I put a lot of that on Stoney. He really had us ready to play. So, I think, and Mark Stone, like on the ice right now, Chandler Stevenson and Mark and Brett Howden, they all had tremendous series against Winnipeg. So, you know that they're going on the ice, the impact that Mark's had on Chandler's game and Brett's game, and then the impact that Mark is having on the whole team. He makes everybody better. So, Edmonton won 3 of the 4 meetings this year against Vegas. Mark Stone only played in 1 of them, and that was an overtime loss. And that was just before Mark shut it down. The effects of his back injury
Maybe not 100%,
were starting to be felt. And just like, look what happened to Boston without, Patrice Bergeron. We find out now he was playing with the series against Florida with a herniated disc. Well, it's just when Vegas lost to Montreal in the last of the COVID seasons 2 years ago, his back injury was starting to take root, and he wasn't himself. And if he is himself, Vegas wins that series. Instead, they don't. They lose, and I don't think Vegas was going to beat Tampa in the Stanley Cup. But all of that would have been different if Mark was healthy. Well, now he appears to be healthy and playing under that in the the ability that he has and is having the impact and effect that only he can have. And Vegas is just they're just a better team for it. So that's a huge factor for me from first round.
He seems to be glowing off the ice, too. So excited to be back, you can see. We're actually going to take a quick break before Bruce Cassidy meets with the media. We will have that live on the flip side of this break. But as we head to break, attention Golden Knights fans, we need your help in welcoming AFC Bournemouth to the Foley Entertainment Group. Also known as the Cherries, AFC Bournemouth plays in the prestigious English Premier League, where they consistently take on some of the best football teams in the world. Show your support for the Cherries by catching their matches via stream on Peacock TV. Make sure to also visit the Arsenal at City National Arena to pick up some Bournemouth merch, including jerseys, scarves, flags, mini soccer balls, and lapel pins. To learn more and be part of the club's exciting new era, make sure to visit afcb.co.uk. Up the Cherries, and we'll be right back.
To the sky, feet to the ground. I give a what the hater do. If I do not try, then I will have failed, and I can't afford not to make a move. I was told I was not good enough. I was told I was not capable. I had to sit and just ask myself, what you gonna let this make you roll? Everything that I've been working for is right in front of me. I would not ever let go. Using negativity as energy for me as I travel alone on this road. They didn't see the vision, they didn't understand. I went the distance, no helping hand. Now my gift got me sitting on top, and I'm about to show up now, thinking I hope you did. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is yours, so what will you choose? If you give it your all, you got nothing to lose. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is mine, so what did I choose? Look, I grind every day, I got something to prove. I'm moving along, but it's calling my name. Did I inherit this pain? Keep pulling me close every time I'm restrained. I did not come for no games. I give a with the rule is. I feel like I'm going insane. I feel like I'm about to lose it. I'm on the move like a runaway. Don't turn it back, I pick up the pace. I do not care what the others say. Listen, I told you that I did not come to play. We about to take it to higher heights. History's waiting when I arrive. Today is the dawn of a new.
Well, the Vegas Golden Knights have an opponent. They have a date. It is officially round 2 week here in Vegas. So thanks for joining us here on Nighttime at Noon. Ashali Vise and Gary Lawless. We'll be hearing from Golden Knights head coach Bruce Cassidy here shortly. But Gary, I guess let's just jump right into your overall view of the matchup between the Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, I like Vegas 5-on-5. I think it's no secret that Edmonton has, historically one of the greatest power plays in the history of hockey, and operating at I think 57% in that first round. So Vegas, the other side of that coin is the Golden Knights are the least penalized team in hockey. They had less penalties and less power plays against than any other team in the regular season this year. And while they took some penalties early against the Jets, the last 2 games saw them only shorthanded twice in the last 2 games of the series. So that's going to be a really important thing for the Golden Knights. Is they're going to have to check with their legs. You're going to have to be careful with their sticks and not give the referees any reason to put them down shorthanded, because if that happens, Edmonton is going to score. They're going to score power play goals, and that's almost for certain. 5-on-5, I think Vegas is deeper, and they're going to have an opportunity to, they're going to have to play short shifts and really kind of use their depth and their balance to force Edmonton, who's going to counter with a lot of McDavid and Draisaitl, and then try and wear those guys out.
Would be curious if Laurent Brossoit has been having any conversations with the hockey gods at night, because the fact that he's having on the journey he's having, and then he's having to face each of his 2 former teams where he was stuck as the backup each time on the way to get there.
Yeah, well, he's they chanted in Winnipeg, "You're a backup," and he proved to them that he is not. He was the better goalie in that series, and I expect Vegas will have an edge in goaltending versus Edmonton, who will go with Stuart Skinner. The Oilers stayed in L.A. They're actually practicing in El Segundo at the Kings practice facility today, so they'll have been away from home for a long stretch before they head back to Edmonton late Friday night or early Saturday morning.
Yeah, hopefully Vegas can use that to its advantage. He had talked about the power play for obvious reasons. It's easy to say stay disciplined. What makes it so difficult against this team? Why do they draw so many penalties?
For one, like McDavid and Draisaitl are both really fast and really agile. Draisaitl a little powerful as well. Not that McDavid isn't, but Draisaitl has a little more of that element to his game. So, it'd be real crucial to not turn the puck over, to not try and check those guys, not to be on an island, and to check them as a team. I just think that, the back pressure that the Golden Knights committed to at certain stretches of the series versus Winnipeg, there's going to have to be 4 games. If the Golden Knights are going to win 4 games, they're going to have to be near perfect in their defensive structure and in the maximum effort to check as a team. 4 games of regulation or more in order to get 4 wins. That's the way I see it. Edmonton hasn't, they haven't lost a game in regulation in a long time. I think they went 14-1 down the stretch, and both of their losses versus the Kings in the first round went to overtime. And the Golden Knights won't care how they do it, but the Oilers will be an extremely tough out for Vegas, and I would suggest Vegas will be an extremely tough out for Edmonton as well.
I would say best series on the docket, right? It's got to be up there on what we have for round 2.
Well, Florida just knocked out Boston, so that's super exciting. We don't know, Seattle and Dallas. That'll be interesting. And then if it's the Rangers in Carolina or the Devils in Carolina, that's an interesting series as well.
All right. Well, let's hear from Bruce Cassidy, and then we'll get back to this.
Well, they're very dynamic. High-octane offensive team. Power plays, setting all kinds of records. So that's stating the obvious. Driven by some high-end players. Maybe some guys behind them, I would say, don't get enough credit. If you're going to beat the Oilers, you got to find a way to slow them down at some point, limit those chances. Score yourself, because you're not going to never keep those guys right off the score sheet. So that's the challenge in front of us. So having said that, I think during our Winnipeg series, I felt we got better and better defensively as the series went on, limiting chances. And if you take away the last 8 minutes with the goalie out, I thought the last few games were really good at. Game 4, Game 5, we're defending, we're reloading, all the necessary things that are going to come in handy against, not handy, are going to be required against Edmonton. So those are drilled into our game during the year, and we found them again in the series against Winnipeg. So that's the good news, is it's very fresh and current in our players' minds, and that's how we're going to have to play.
Danny Webster, Las Vegas Sun. You just touched on how well you guys played defensively in the first round. So how important is it for when you get those transition opportunities, because you're going to spend a lot of time trying to slow them down in their zone? How important is transition play going to be in this series?
Well, I think for us all year, a lot of our offense came from neutral zone takeaways, neutral zone defense, protecting the house, and if teams got caught low or made no-look plays to the slot, we had numbers, we transitioned well. Our D would get going. We're a good rush team. That's how we generated a lot of our offense. It wasn't just breakdowns by the other team. It was probably what we did to get the puck back that fueled our offense a lot. So that'll be in play again too if we check well. If you check well, you frustrate. And when teams are frustrated, they maybe do things they wouldn't normally do, or lose patience, etc. And that's where we got to be good on coming back the other way, which we have been. We scored well against Winnipeg. First game, I'm going to take out the first game for every facet of our game. We weren't good enough. That's an area we're going to have to improve. Obviously, our start to the series, but after that, a lot of our game was in order. And certain parts of it got better. We had some blips, but to go to your question, that part of our game was solid and should be there against Edmonton if we're playing like we're supposed to.
Jesse Granger with The Athletic. You've mentioned quite a few times how much you like to trust all three defensive pairs and kind of use them interchangeably. I'm curious, like your top two pairs, how differently do you view their strengths and just the style of the way they defend?
Not a lot. You got Naber, who's a big body. Petro's a big body. You got Theo, he's not small, but he's more the transition guy, which is obviously Petro's strength as well. And Marty is not as big as Naber, yet takes care of a lot of what Naber does. You sort of see they're different sizes, but Naber's more like Marty, I think, in terms of what they contribute to the pair: defensive stoutness, blocking shots, being the sort of the defensive anchor. And Petro and Theo are more the offensive guys and the puck movers, guys are on the power play. So you got one of each in each pair. And I think they can be interchangeable in matchups too, because you have one in each pair, right? So I think that's the advantage, and you have some grit in each one, some ability to join the rush in each one, because you're always thinking of that. The way the game is now, you need to be a 4-man attack at minimum to create a lot of offense consistently. So I don't know if that answers it, but for John, he's not from. We don't say Petro's got line 1 and Naber line 2. It can be interchangeable in the game, especially coming out of special team situation, whoever's up. So that's what we like about them. They can both handle top matchups and always do. Now you drag, to get away from Hager and Whitey into this, that the pair was out the other day. They can handle some top matchups. Now, are they ready for it every night in the Stanley Cup playoffs? I don't know. Time will tell, but they did a pretty good job the other night and have done a good job. So that's the advantage of our group. We're not afraid of our third pair playing against top lines at all. In fact, I think those guys relish it and probably deserve a little bit more, but they just happen to be stuck behind some good players too.
Ken Mulkey, Not Vegas. A lot of people say, just stay out of the box and you've got a good chance against the Oilers. Do you feel that it's that simple, or is there more to it?
I mean, they were 1 for 1, 2 for 3. I mean, if you take one penalty a period against a very good offensive team, you're probably playing fairly disciplined. To me, it's less about staying out of the box, and it's their ozone time. You got to find ways to keep them out of your ozone as best as possible. How is that? That's face-offs. Well, that's a tough one with Draisaitl right out of the gate. Entries. Well, now you got the fastest guy on the planet, so that's easier said than done. And clears. So that's where you got to make sure your clears go 200 feet when you get a chance to get it out. That's controllable. And the entries to a certain extent. You got to try to design something to make it harder for them to get in. So I think that's how the best chance you have against their power play. Yes, staying out of the box. And we are the least penalized team in the National Hockey League, so I anticipate we will stay out of the box against them. Against Winnipeg, we were very disciplined, didn't take a lot of penalties, so that should not change. So I don't anticipate us killing a lot of penalties. On the flip side, they don't always need a lot of opportunities, so that's where we got to be good.
Bruce Schoenrock from NHL.com. Obviously, you pay attention to the game. You're a student in the game. You like it a lot. It's 1 versus 2.
You could say I love it, Sean. I love it.
Okay. I didn't want to put words in your mouth. But it's 1-2 from the 2015 draft in this series. Anytime you have that kind of matchup, there's a little bit of uniqueness to it. These guys had to wait a long time for that to happen. As somebody who loves the game, do you get a little charge out of finally being able to see a matchup like this on such a big stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, Connor is on his own. That's no disrespect to Jack or the number one the next year or the previous year. He is just, Draisaitl might be the guy that would have to say something about that, and he's right beside him. So, yes, it's good for Jack. It's great for Jack to have an opportunity to play against the best. I think where Jack is right now, he wanted to play in a playoff series, period. So we got that under his belt. Now he's got a little momentum. So I think that's the next challenge for him. Okay, I may be matched up against one of their elite centermen, or when they're both on the ice at the same time. Now we have Stevenson, we have Carlson, so we're lucky in that regard. We have a lot of good centermen that should be able to match up and check well. But yes, I think everyone would be talking about that matchup, whether it's fair to Jack or not. Doesn't matter. It's playoff hockey. I've got to outplay the guy across from you typically if you want to advance. So that's what's on the table for him. So I look at it as our team has to outplay the Oilers, not Jack McDavid, because that's a nearly impossible ask. But when he's on the ice, I'm sure that's what's going through his head. I got to be better than this guy right now. And like I said, it's not an easy thing to do, but that's what's in front of us with this series.
Mark Anderson, AP. With all you've gone through with goalie this season, to have Brassard take the reins late in the season and in place of one of the players, what is that? How important was that as far as you don't have to worry so much anymore that position?
Well, what we worried about was God, we've had a lot of injuries at that position. We're going to have another one. I don't think we're truly worried about who was in there when they were healthy. That's the good news. We weren't closing our eyes, and they all played well. So it was the problem keeping them healthy was our challenge and their challenge. So it's nice to have a consistent guy in there, yes, every night, but it didn't bother us, as I said, in the regular season. We came to the rink knowing there was at least one or two healthy guys, and we'd be okay. I think our team is goaltender friendly, the way we play in front of them, so that helps. It's helped LB in that last series. As I said, I thought we got progressively better, made his life a little bit easier as we went along, and when we didn't, he was really good. So the guys are confident in front of him. They've got a bit of an unproven guy over there too, so there'll be a little bit of conversation about that. He's going through it for basically the first time. So that's the interesting part about this matchup is maybe the limited experience of both goaltenders in playoff hockey. How's that going to play out?
Also, you guys have been great on the road all season, but it seems like every road team's winning this postseason. Any theories to why that's happening?
I was talking about that on the ice with the coaches. It's a good question. I thought it mirrors the regular season. We were good on the road. We went out, won 2 road games. Edmonton was a very good road team, played well on the road. Colorado, they go and win in Seattle too. They had a good road. Who was the other one in the West? Dallas had, and they go and win it when they have to on the road. So why that is, are they veteran teams that are just comfortable playing anywhere? Is that the new NHL where, that's not the old days and the scheduling's easier to get your rest and the travel, all that? I don't know, have the direct answer to that. Just more parity to me in the league probably has something to do with team can win any night. Saw it yesterday in a couple of Game 7s, right? Here we go again. So I think it's more that than anything.
On a related note, I just wanted to ask you, again, as somebody who loves the game, it used to be different when you played on the road. It used to be every rink was different. It was intimidating. Teams did stuff to intimidate other teams. And I'm curious, what's the craziest thing when you've played on the road that another team did to try and get into your team's head?
Well, they had no hot water at the Fairmont Hotel last week in Winnipeg, which I didn't really like at all. Great hotel, by the way. Great service, nice people, just no damn hot water. I don't know. We played the Islanders one year, and you had to stay at that Marriott across from it was when they were still at the old Coliseum. Yeah. And they had the what do they call that, pregame or in football? I'm drawing a blank here. Tailgating. So they're tailgating out there all afternoon, and in their vans, and we're in the hotel, so you could hear it. Like, I don't know how anybody slept. The alarms are going off at 2:30. You know what I mean? It was one of those. That's not at the rink though. That's at the hotel, because you're limited with your choices there. If you've ever been there, like you're traveling a lot, and I thought that was freaking annoying, but effective by the Islanders fans.
Some good inside info there from Bruce Cassidy about some of the hotel troubles there in Winnipeg, Gary. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We have a special guest, Brett Howden, who is on his way up. So we will catch up with him right after this break.
To the ground, I give it what a hater do. If I do not try, then I will have failed, and I can't afford not to make a move. I was told I was not good enough. I was told I was not capable. I had to sit and just ask myself, what you gonna let this make of you roll? Everything that I've been working for is right in front of me. I would not ever let go. Using negativity as energy for me as I travel alone on this road. They didn't see the vision, they didn't understand. I went the distance, no helping hand. Now my gift got me sitting on top, and I'm about to show them now they cannot hold me down. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is yours, so what will you choose? If you give it your all, you got nothing to lose. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is mine, so what did I choose? Look, I grind every day, I got something to prove.
Welcome back to Nighttime at Noon from Studio 31 here at City National Arena. Ashali Vise with Gary Lawless, and now one of the stars of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs for the Vegas Golden Knights, Brett Howden. Brett, I think I have an idea, but what have these last 4 days been like for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's nice to get some time off, spend some time at home, and good for everybody to recover, and now starting to gear back up and get ready for the next series to start.
How nice has it been to have those 4 days with your wife Micah, your new baby boy Charlie? What's that been like?
Yeah, it's been great. Both of our parents have been down here helping us out a little bit, but it's been a blast. Each day he's starting to get a little bit more awake, so starting to open his eyes a bit more and kind of notice us. So it's every day it's been a lot of fun.
You kind of go through this like ceiling though, right? You go from young guy with no responsibilities to dad, and all of a sudden, like talking to some of the guys in the dressing room, they're playing golf on the weekend and going to concerts, and you're changing diapers.
Yeah, things change quickly. Yeah, it's all good though. It's been a great learning experience. Every day I feel like I'm learning more and more, but Yeah, things. I knew it was coming, but things change. I'm not on the course right now, so helping out at home and getting some good family time.
What has surprised you the most since becoming a dad?
I think patience. Patience has been good. I mean, he's been great. He's a great baby, but I think that's something that a lot of the guys were telling me is that you'll begin to learn how to be real patient, and it's been great so far.
You get tired.
Yeah.
I can remember my wife still holds this against me. I can remember driving home and pulling up to the house and looking up, and the nursery, the light was still on. I just kept driving, went around the block a couple of times until that light went out because I didn't want to go in and have to deal with it. It's awful. I can't believe I admitted that, but you just
Some things never change.
Sometimes you're physically just, and it's way harder on the mother than it is on. Lose her dad, but
yeah, she's been great. My wife's been she's been awesome. She's been a rock star through this. Obviously, a lot depends on them the first little bit here. So she's been amazing.
Speaking of rock stars, pretty big game for you in Winnipeg, and really a real good series for you playing on a line with Chandler Stevenson and Mark Stone.
Yeah, things changed after that first game. And that first period of the second game, we obviously, as a team, didn't really like where we were at, and I thought we answered well in the second period of game 2, and then from there, I think we just kind of took over the series. We really didn't take our foot off the gas. We stayed on them, and I thought we didn't give them the chance to come back in the series at all.
What's that like to go into the building where I know you were telling Dave Gosher the last time Vegas played the Jets in a playoff series, you were knocked out, and so you came back to Winnipeg and were in the stands with all your buddies watching the Jets and the Golden Knights play. What's it like to go into that building and score a big goal and have such a big impact?
Yeah, I mean it was pretty crazy. It was pretty special going back there to play. Like you said, I'd finished junior, so once I was back home, they were in the playoffs, and I went to game 2 against Vegas. It's just it's crazy how things can change in a few years. It was kind of full circle. I was in the crowd, and then 5 years later, I'm on the ice against them in the whiteout. So it was pretty special for me to be a part of, and special for my family. They all got to come to the games, so it was just a really cool experience, and obviously it made it even more cool being able to win both games there and kind of silence the whiteout. So it was pretty special.
Did I hear Happy Howie was the nickname? Is that a new thing I've heard?
There's a lot of nicknames. I have quite a few. Pretty much anything goes if you put it with Howie, I guess. The guys are making a joke out of that, so I have a few nicknames.
It's been clear that it's been a close room for quite some time, but has that elevated in just this last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think all year we have such a great group. It's the closest group I've ever been a part of, and every day we come to the rink, even during the year, if it was, not our best hockey and we're on a bit of a slump, it's still good vibes at the rink, and we make it good vibes so that we're feeling good about ourselves going to the next game. And like you said, the last couple of weeks, I think playoffs brings everybody a lot closer. On the road, we're all together all the time, and then it feels like you're playing it. Well, you are playing every other night pretty much, so you're with the guys a lot. So it's been a lot of fun this year, and lately it's been even more fun being in playoffs with them, and pretty special when we have a group like we do.
The opportunity to face the Edmonton Oilers is and what happens after that if you manage to get through. How do you kind of balance just being ready for the first shift of game 1 and not thinking too far beyond that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's the biggest thing is just focusing in on the task at hand. You don't want to look at the big picture, because if you do that, you get too far ahead of yourselves, and that's when things you start getting into trouble. So for us, all we're focusing on is the first game, but more so we're so focused on our starts and the first 10 minutes of the game. So obviously, as you get closer to game time, you'll start to dial it into that. But right now, when we're practicing, we're worried about ourselves. We're worried about our game, and then as we get closer to the game, obviously, we're gonna start to think about them a little bit more.
How would you describe what it's like playing with Mark Stone?
Yeah, it's pretty easy, to be honest with you. He's so smart. For me, I'm just trying to get out there and create some space for those guys and get in hard on the forecheck and get pucks back. Yeah, I think Gary, you said it at one of the intermissions interview, and how he can make something out of nothing. It's amazing. You get him the puck in an area, it's not even a good play or a good pass, but he finds a way to make something special out of it. Both him and Stevie are the same way with that. So those two have been a dynamic duo for a few years now. So I'm just trying to step in and try to do what I can.
Well, he could burn you in such a unconventional way, and I think guys just start to give him space.
Yeah.
And then once he has a little bit of room to create, he does. He'll wait, he'll hold on.
Yeah.
Like the empty netter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he makes that play in the neutral zone and then he waits for you to get free and then slides it up to you, and it's like, wow, gone.
Well, I think that's the thing with him is, over his career, he created that room for himself just by other players respecting what he's able to do, which gives him more time and space. Because if you come at him too quickly, he can make you look silly. So he's kind of done that himself over his career, and you can just see once he gets the puck, and he somehow always has some space. So it's pretty special playing with him.
I know players all say, "Oh, it's the funnest time of year, the most fun time of the year," but for fans, it is. When they're watching the game, I know I go home and my family's like, "Oh, they weren't very good for a while, and we got so nervous." And then you guys win more often than not and figure things out. What's it like? Were you nervous after game one or after game halfway through game two? Like, what's it like for you to go to ride that roller coaster?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing is it's a roller coaster. I mean, there's a lot of emotion, and going into game one, I think all of us had the jitters a little bit. We wanted to, perform well in front of our fans after, getting home ice advantage. And, I think there was that anticipation of the excitement and wanting to play and looking forward to it. And, I think that played into it a little bit. But, after the first period of game two, we kind of settled down. I don't think there was no worriness after game one either. We were right back to work the next day, getting focused and ready. And, after the first period, we just gathered ourselves in the room, and like I said, that second period and that third period, we really took over, and we didn't stop there. So
how do you beat Connor McDavid?
Oh, it's a good question, but obviously they have those two big guys up front, and obviously they ran their team the whole year. So obviously you're gonna have to be hard on them and force them to make mistakes and not give them chances where we can. And obviously they have those two guys, but they got a full team too. We got to be ready to go for whatever line's out there. And I think the cool thing about our team is we can roll 4 lines any night against any team. So I think that's the benefit to us.
That's what's led to a lot of the post-game celebrations. So let me ask you, who makes the best Elvis?
The best Elvis? Well, I don't know. I think it looks pretty good on Ammo. He's got a nice little beard with it, so it's upsetting I'm giving him a compliment like that, but hey, it's all right.
I was about to ask you who makes the worst, but I feel like you're too nice. But I don't know. Now you're throwing shots at Ammo, so maybe.
No, we'll just stick with who's
okay.
the best. Yeah.
You guys are loving each other having success, right? You guys seem to be, I don't know if you're best friends, but you have a real bond. You sit near each other on the plane and in the dressing room, and I know that you really enjoy when he scores and vice versa.
Yeah, it's so happy for him. Him coming over here on waivers last year and just showing what he can do. He was given the opportunity, and it really shows. I mean, scoring 16 goals this year, playing on different lines lots of the time. All of us, injuries happen, obviously, with every team, but it felt like we haven't really set our lines until as of late. So he's had a great year and a half going back to last year, and just super happy for him. I think that just goes to show how close our group really is. I think everybody feels the same way.
When Kelly McCrimmon, when he completed the trade for you, I knew a little bit about you because I'd worked in Winnipeg for a while. He said to me, I asked him a couple of questions, and then he said, Gary, I'm betting on the person. It hadn't gone great for you with the two previous organizations, maybe because you didn't get the right chance, and it's really going well for you now. But what does that mean to you when the general manager says, "I'm betting on the person"?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously pretty good feeling to hear that. I mean, yeah, my last year in New York didn't really go the way I wanted it to, and I think coming here, having a fresh start, Kelly's seen me play a lot, going back to junior. He coached against me a lot when he was in Brandon. So I think I'm pretty lucky there where he kind of knew what I was capable of and had the ability to do, even if I wasn't given the right opportunity. So it's, I think that's really helped me out a lot. Just kind of getting a reset here last year. And, I think the opportunity I've been given here has made a big difference.
Well, and it's certainly paid off, Brett. Thank you for doing this. Good luck in round 2.
Awesome.
We aren't able to chat with you here in the next couple days.
Thank you, guys.
And we will head to break. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Brett.
When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is yours, so what will you choose? If you give it your all, you got nothing to lose. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is mine, so what did I choose? Look, I grind every day, I got something to prove. I'm moving along, but it's calling my name. Did I inherit this pain? Keep pulling me close every time I'm restrained. I did not come for no games. I give it what the rule is. I feel like I'm going insane. I feel like I'm about to lose it. I'm on the move like a runaway. Don't turn it back, I pick up the pace. I do not care what the others say. Listen, I told you that I did not come to play. We about to take it to higher heights. History's waiting when I arrive. Today is the dawn of a new, and I'm about to show them that they cannot hold me down. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is yours, so what will you choose? If you give it your all, you got nothing to lose. When you a winner, you learn from your losses. We came from the bottom and now we the bosses. The future is mine, so what did I choose? Look, I grind every day, I got something to prove. To the sky, feet to the ground. I give a what the hater do. If I do not try, then I will have failed, and I can't afford.
Welcome back to Nighttime at Noon, just 2 days away from round 2 between the Vegas Golden Knights and Edmonton Oilers. And Medieval Maniacs, we need you in the Fortress wearing your favorite gold attire and cheering on your Vegas Golden Knights as they take on the Edmonton Oilers in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Tickets for second round games at T-Mobile Arena are available right now. For more information, visit our ticketing page on VegasGoldenKnights.com or contact our ticketing team at tickets@VegasGoldenKnights.com. Gold, gold, gold. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, I think, there will be Edmonton fans there, and they will wear orange. So you want to drown them out with
Don't wear red like me right
as
now.
much gold as possible. So yeah, gold it is.
Gold it is. It shines. It's great. Want to go a little bit further into some of the things we've seen around the National Hockey League up to this point. Might as well start in the Western Conference. Seattle and Colorado series. What did you make of the Seattle Kraken advancing to round 2?
Well, Colorado, they obviously missing their captain, Landeskog. They traded away Nazem Kadri. They never replaced him. Josh Manson was injured. Nichushkin got into a situation in Seattle, and no one even knows where he is right now. So publicly, anyways, we hope he's safe and in a good place, and if he's not doing well, that he gets what he needs to get through that. I have no idea what his situation is, but there's lots of rumors. So, and Vegas saw last year what it's like to miss all those players. They missed the playoffs last year, and I think that Jared Bednar did a really good job to keep his team together and to get them to the playoffs. But Seattle's deep and balanced, and they came at them. I watched the game. I watched games. There was 4 games in that series, I think, over the stretch, and they were impressive. Seattle won't be an easy out, and that as hot as Dallas is offensively, and then they have that great goalie Ottinger. Seattle might give Dallas fits. That'll be an interesting series.
What turnaround did you see from Seattle from year 1 to this year? It's pretty dramatic.
Well, they got better goaltending, and then the effect of guys having, it was weird when Vegas had the first year. Vegas had all their guys had their breakout years in the first year. This year, Bjorkstrand has a great year. Jared McCann has a great year. Vince Dunn. It all came a year later for them, and then Grubauer really stabilized things for them in the blue line. I think Dave Hackstall grew as a coach and found a way to get his players to play with structure, but also to be free to do things well offensively. I think there's been a little bit of a tweak in the coaching approach there, and as a result, you've got a team moving into the second round, and confidence is a scary thing. Those guys are feeling good about themselves. With Boston out, and maybe we'll talk about that next.
Yeah, that's next.
It kind of feels to me like there's the playing field is leveled, and there's no Goliath in the group anymore. It's a bunch of Davids, and we're going to find out who can last the longest.
And it was Florida Panthers upsetting the President's Trophy winners. Not only that, but a historic regular season for Boston. What do you make of this?
Well, Patrice Bergeron had a herniated disc by the end of that series. I think he hurt it in Game 82 playing in Montreal. He wanted to play in front of his dad one last time, and certainly don't begrudge him of that situation, but they're just not the same without him. He's much like Mark Stone changes the Golden Knights when Bergeron is on his game. He changes that team too. Yeah, I think it would be disingenuous not to address the fact that Bruce Cassidy led that organization for 6 years. They went to the playoffs every year. They went to the finals in 2019, and they decided to fire Bruce. And Jim Montgomery did a really good job in the regular season. They set records, and then they flopped in the first round. And some of that accountability that Bruce, that comes with him. You wonder if the Bruins are missing some of that this year, and if Bruce had been, Monty did a great job, and I don't think you can question what he accomplished this year. But maybe Bruce in the playoffs, could have got a little more out of them. Bruce, to me, it's really impressive how he finds ways to win. The Golden Knights didn't. There weren't many games that, if it was close, that they didn't win this year. He finds a way to get it done.
He has a good pulse for when to change things up, when to
Big
make
time.
that move for sure.
Yep.
The Toronto Maple Leafs win a series.
Yeah, it's good for hockey, I think. If they win the Stanley Cup, that won't be good for hockey. That will be painful, especially coming from a Canadian who grew up
in
just
Ontario.
outside the shadow of Toronto. I wouldn't like that one bit. So, I don't know, Vegas, Toronto, that'd be a pretty juicy Stanley Cup matchup. And, obviously that's a long way off as well. But, yeah, good for the Leafs. They got the first round sort of monkey off their back. Now they play Florida, and I'm sure in Toronto they're like looking at the path and saying we've got a real good chance to get to the Stanley Cup. Well, you do. You get out of the first round, you get down to 8 teams. You get through that, you're down to 4. And I am of the belief if a team gets to the conference final, they've had a successful year. That is, the coaching staff has done a real good job to get the team in the playoffs and win 2 series. The players have accomplished a lot to get in and win 2 series. The owner has rung the cash register a number of times because you've had, at least 4 home dates, maybe more by that point. So, and then you're down to 4, and who wins the Stanley Cup at that time often comes down to health and hot goaltending, that sort of thing. So, one more series to the Leafs, and they can really look at this as a big push through. Although, now in that community, anything less than the Stanley Cup will be disappointing. They lose to Florida, they'll still be screaming for people to get fired.
Well, I'm not saying that about the Vegas Golden Knights, but I am saying that the Golden Knights have high expectations as well. So, Gary, let me end with this. What are you most excited about when you look at the matchup in round 2?
Well, to me, it's Vegas has depth and Mark Stone, and I'm excited to see what he can do against McDavid and Draisaitl, and what Bruce Cassidy can get out of the Golden Knights. There's a path for the Golden Knights to win this series for sure.
And we need all of the Golden Knights fans there in gold on Wednesday or on Toshiba Plaza watching outside. Beard trimmers are going to be back, the whole shebang. It's going to be awesome. But for now, this was Nighttime at Noon. Thanks for watching and listening.
Calling my name, that I inherit this pain. Keep pulling me close every time I'm restrained. I did not come for no